Are we live now? Oh, we're on that camera though, but not this one. This one. I thought we were going to go here. Which one are we doing? We're just going back and forth.
I'm going to barf.
This is the Dallas Stars DLLS Podcast. We don't even know what camera we're supposed to look at.
John's back.
It's Monday. Luddy's here. He wasn't supposed to be. He missed us that much. Let's talk about 2 preseason games over the weekend, roster cuts today. Man, and then if that wasn't enough, a slate of NHL news and notes. Let's get it started. It's Monday, September 30th, the final day of September. We are about to hit October, which is what everybody really, really wants. Hockey
Halloween
season.
Oh, yeah. Hockey season.
Trust me. If you have known your co-host at all, we will be doing a Halloween episode. And we will
I got my socks ready for tomorrow.
We will not be skimping on our Halloween
What
episode.
day does Halloween fall on?
It's a
I
Friday.
want to say it's a Friday.
It's a Friday.
I won't be
start
here,
of a
though. I won't
weekend.
be here, though.
Oh.
So it would be remote, whatever
You
this
can-
plan
You're
is.
just going to be a ghost.
Yeah. I like that.
That's actually a multi-layer ghost.
I like that.
I like it. Well, welcome, everybody. This is our first episode of the new week and the last one of September. Luds is back from his parts unknown jaunt up to Wisconsin. He was supposed to be somewhere. Look at that.
The Whalers.
Oh, the Whalers are in Raleigh now. I like that, too. If you're watching on the stream, thank you. Luds, we thought you were going to be somewhere in the middle. John, throw that map back up. I was guessing a Loves in Kansas.
I will tell you what happened. So yesterday morning, my kids were there. They were heading out on the boat one last day up there. And I thought that would be a bad idea for Luds to be on that boat again. So I said to Kim, I said, let's get going. We were planning on leaving at 11, and we got out of there about 11:30. And I had a plan in mind to be back at my place here by 11 a.m. this morning. I was there at 10:56, but I had to drive until about 1 o'clock this morning. And then I got up and took off at 6 so we could be here. I missed you guys, kind of.
We missed you, too.
Sort of.
Yeah,
Kind of, sort of.
You'll change your tune by the end of the show.
Yeah, I know. We're going on another road trip tomorrow.
By the way, we had a chat. Brian said, good afternoon, gents. So hi, Brian. There he is. We are here. We are live. I still don't know how he operates on 2 to 3 hours of sleep and all the traveling he did.
Sleep when you're dead. I was told that when I was about 16 years old.
And you haven't slept since?
Nope.
Well, how about that? It's great to have you back. Sam's here. Sean will be here tomorrow as part of his regular couple times a week appearance on the show. Let's start with it. We've got 2 games to go over. Friday night, I wasn't there. Sam was in the building. I had to do an FC Dallas game on Saturday. My kids had a couple of basketball games, so I took the option to watch it on Victory Plus. But you were there as they beat the Avalanche. What'd you think?
Yeah, it was an interesting game. It was a lot more sloppy than we saw in some of the first games. But Matt Duchene and Tyler Seguin, man, we saw them in the game, I think previously the Wednesday game, dominating like they haven't before with Marchment. This game they play with a couple new line mates with Dazanoff and then Ben in the third period. But, man, they just picked up right where they left off and even had a little Ben to Seguin throwback saucer pass in that game. So I thought they were the most impressive. But, yeah, another good game, and they found a way to win again, right? Another second period slump and that the coaches talked about trying to fix up, but they found a way to go 4-0 and now 5-0.
It's funny when you look at how they've gone through the preseason, different lineups, different people with playing with different people. Some guys staying the same because you can see really where they're going with this thing, and you'd say, well, how's camp going? How could it not be going well? You're getting an opportunity to look at players that you have an idea that might be able to step in the lineup, might be call-ups. You're seeing some boo-boos from some of them players, what they need to learn and things like that. But the biggest characteristic is they're finding a way to win all of these hockey games. And you want to go into the regular season on a good note, you kind of do it the way that they're doing it.
Am I crazy, or is it not just me seeing that there is a trend in these games, because as much as we haven't really thought about the team as a whole, because it's hard to evaluate with different lineups and different opponents, and the scale and skill levels are really variant. But the one thing that I've seen in all 5 games is the Stars have played fast. They've been on their toes. They've been in the opponent's face, and they've really, for the most part, with some exceptions, mostly carried the play against the opposition. That seems to be a systemic plus, even if it is different lineups and different players and different opponents.
Wouldn't you say that's the identity of a Pete DeBoer team?
Yeah,
very much so.
He's put his stamp on this club when he came here, and again, I think a lot of these coaches, they get a lot smarter when they get fired and they're looking to get hired. I've always wondered how GMs go about hiring their coaches, and if you have a general manager that is a defensive-minded kind of guy, and you've got the best available coach out there, but he's not a defensive-minded guy. He's an offensive-minded guy. So I think coaches want to get kind of players that they believe in the system that they like to run with. And Jim Nill has done that for him. And again, on the other side of that, the most important thing is they've developed and built a team that's exciting for the fans. And I think you have to keep that in mind nowadays, that you're still here to entertain. And the best way to entertain is to win and win a championship. But if you're not going to, it's going to be a game you leave and you go, oh, man, was that a good hockey game? Yeah, we wish we'd have scored another goal or two, which you don't really have that thought around here because they do score a lot of goals. But they are an up-tempo team. They have the parts to play that way. Pete coaches that way. And I think what they're trying to do now is sprinkle in, coming off of the playoffs and maybe reasons they didn't move on. Let's get a little bit more structure in our own zone coming back into our end so that we're a little bit more difficult. And we can score 3, 4, 5 goals a night. Let's just not give up 3 or 4.
Yeah, a few points on that. The fans, there was over 15,000 on Friday night, which is the biggest crowd of the preseason. And funny enough, you mentioned the excitement, right? They played fast. They play a little more heavy this year. But there's also been a fight in almost every game. Yeah. And what did they have? 1 fighting major last season or something like that. So they're entertaining. But I think an interesting point is what you said, Owen. They've controlled the play. They've pushed hard. And Matt Duchene even talked about that. Duchene and Seguin both finished the game with 3 points on Friday. Duchene said that the Colorado players were giving them crap for like setting up plays off of faceoffs and
in an exhibition game,
basically trying too hard. And Duchene was like, "We're trying to hit the ground running. We want to use this as a building point to get to where we are." And Laine said the same thing. He was like, "We want to run plays. We want to work. We have a lot of things we're working on right now that are off of faceoffs." Like, it's almost like, okay, yeah, go ahead and joke about it.
That'd be like saying, "Hey, why are you trying to win this hockey game?" Well, what is that?
Yeah, it's
Aren't
weird.
The other coaches making mistakes by not trying to do that?
Absolutely.
You would think so.
I mean, because in a league now where so many teams are so equal at the top and the middle and the bottom, I mean, there's a lot of teams that are kind of on the same part. You can't afford to take or have a bad week or two, because now the next thing you know, you could be starting on the road. You could be just missing a playoff spot. You've got to play well right from the start of the year. You want to be that team that gets out on a good run, because you're going to go through a bad stretch at some point, whether it's a 3-game losing streak or whatever it may be. And you want to kind of build up a little bit of a buffer to kind of get through those tough times if you can.
Luds, I noticed this really early in the game, and I wrote some notes on my phone and then realized it goes dark too fast. I should have put it on my computer so it does. I don't have to keep, as you guys are talking, keep hitting my password or Face ID. Early in the first, Miro had a shot right at the blue line on his strong side that was tipped by Wyatt Johnston. It didn't go in, but I had to write it down because they said that shot's not possible if Miro's playing on his weak side. And that was just one of those early examples. We saw him score one in one of the previous preseason games because he's on his strong side. Now, look, maybe at times I make too much of the righty-lefty, weak side, strong side, especially for a guy as good as Miro. But it's those little plays that stand out to me and say, because he stepped inside the blue line, and because he's on his strong side on the left, he can take that shot. If he's on his right side as a left, he's playing that on his backhand. That's not even a shot, let alone harder to just get it down the wall.
Well, and again, it's where bodies are. We talked about this last week. If Miro was on the right side as a left-handed shot and you get the puck on your forehand, the puck is closer to the middle of the ice. And if you're defending, you're supposed to have more guys in the middle of the ice than you are on the perimeter. And so that's the difference of and he's really good at getting it from his backhand to his forehand on the offside. Now when he's on his strong side, as we say, he can get it off even quicker.
Mm-hmm.
There's more lanes to get it there because there's more bodies away from where the puck is. So yeah, it's definitely an advantage, and it'll be interesting to see if they're able to find pairs that allow them to do that this year.
Instead of Miro going down the right side and having to cut back and take a shot, which he's very effective at, do you think we're going to see more of him just kind of working down the wall and then attacking because he'll have that angle?
I think you're going to see more of what was it, Harley to, was it Seguin off of a faceoff where Thomas comes down behind the net? And when you've got that kind of skating ability, as both of those guys do, you end up getting defensive players chasing you, and you can kind of cause confusion, and you can use the back of the net. You know, we saw a play a long time ago from a guy by the name of Pat LaFontaine in a playoff game where he made like 2 laps around his own zone. But Miro has that ability to kind of pull people that are trying to get into a defensive posture out of their position. Well, eventually they're going to have to go, just stop, let's stay here. We can't continue to chase them, and then things break down from there.
It's an interesting point, Sam, because if you're going down your strong side, and you go behind the net with the puck, you're facing the play.
Yep.
But if you're on your weak side, you're holding it, probably protecting it on your backhand.
Well, you're not protecting. Yeah, but on your strong side, it's out further.
Right.
So it's more difficult for players to get to you.
As you go around the corner behind the net, on your weak side, you're now turning your back to the play to try to protect it. Again, it's harder to dish that puck. You have to pull it farther to do it. So you may see more of Miro playmaking down in the trapezoid area.
Yeah, and you should. I think I talked to Niels Lundqvist about this 2 days ago at practice, just about the general idea of the left versus right. He said he's played some on his offside a little bit, and he said the main thing for him was more options passing when you come around the net. So we're talking about offensively. That goes the same way defensively. If you're coming around your own net, you now make that pass maybe to that looping center or maybe to right up to the wall a little bit easier. But in the offensive end, just think about coming around that net. You're already, like you just said, your eyes are already there. You see the whole field of vision. You can make that pass to the point. You can make it across ice. You can make a little pass across the crease. It just opens up a lot more. But one thing I think we'll see too is a lot of more Miro one-timers down that side, right? A little. What if it's a pass from the goal line down up, or whether it's off of a face-off win? I just see he's so smart, and we talk about hockey IQ all the time. He's going to get to those little soft areas, and I'm just picturing him kind of floating over to that left side and hammering one-timer from top of the circles often.
And I would say the other side of the coin is defensively. When you have somebody that brings the puck from high to low and comes down, now all of a sudden it's hard seeing what's behind you because you're facing down at your own net. You kind of want to be set up so you can see down low and you can see up high. But when you have somebody that leaves from the blue line and starts skating down in the corner, then starts skating behind the net, now, especially for forwards, high forwards, now they're facing that way. They start to collapse. And if guys start to come behind you, you can lose track of people.
And speaking of losing track of people, both of the Avalanche goals, first one was a backdoor tap in on the power play. The second one was a wide open one-timer in the low slot, which we've watched this video a couple of times before the show started, but I wrote down over pursued by Stars defense.
Yeah.
Well, it's not having your head on a swivel, and sometimes less is more, you know, and you've got to know where your people are, your partners, whether it's defensively, where the forwards have to know where they are. I mean, in the situations you're talking about, they're going to work through all of that. And so, you know, again, everybody's trying to close and they're trying to get numbers, but you have to do it smartly. And if you're not sure where to go, if you don't know where to go, be in front of your own net. And like you said, there's been a couple goals that were scored where all 3 players are down behind the goal line in their own zone. And now you can't see anything in the slot, and they're leaving guys wide open in the slot. So I've always had the issue with man-on-man, because man-on-man just basically means I got my guy. And for a defenseman, if you're in front of your own net and your guy for some reason leaves and he starts to skate up near the top of the circle, now as a defenseman, you're above the top of the circle in your own zone. And so now you're away from where you're supposed to be. And then you've got a forward that's supposed to take your spot in front of the net, which since they were 6 years old, they have no idea how to play in front of their own net. And they're not thinking that way. If they're going to play in front of the net, it's at the other end of the ring. And they don't know how to box guys out. They don't work on it. It's not their fault. But again, you get people out of position. So I've never been a big man-on-man fan. I think they've kind of changed and tweaked a little bit where it's more about numbers and having more bodies between the puck and the front of your net.
What'd you guys think of Jake Oettinger? Played the first 2 periods. I thought he made a really good save on my buddy Ivan, who knocked the stick out of Jamie Benn's hand and then had an open one-timer in the slot. Amazing, right? But other than that, I thought he couldn't do anything on the 2 goals because it was defensive breakdowns. One was that backdoor pass tap, and the other one was a quick one-timer again because of bad coverage. What 40 minutes of play, Jake Oettinger, do you feel pretty good going into the last preseason game in St. Louis that he's gotten the work he's needed? He's looked sharp enough?
Yeah, he's looked clean. It's hard to tell with the preseason because he wasn't tested a whole lot either. The ones he was tested on were wide open. You like to maybe see him steal one of those, just if you're a Jake Oettinger fan, knowing that he's capable of that. But yeah, I think, like we said, I think he'll play 2 periods, if not the full game on Thursday. Which will give a more of a tell for his readiness for the season. But I don't think there was a worry about that, especially with a full season or a full summer of training. But yeah, he did what he needed to do, I think.
I think when you're playing against rosters that have a lot of young players and there's not as much structure in front of you as a goaltender, you can kind of see things, and you see it better and you see where everybody's going, where now when there is a little bit more structure and you get to the real group that are going to be playing and they know who they're playing against, and a big guy like Jake Oettinger, he's all of a sudden going to have to fight through some more traffic than what he's seeing right now. Now it might be a little bit because guys aren't where they're supposed to be in front of him and on his own team. But once you get into the regular season and there's people that are talking about you got to take his eyes away, you can't let him come out and cut the angle down, all this kind of stuff, he's going to have to start to fight through something in front of him.
We're going to get to, I have a couple more questions I want to ask the guys about the Colorado game. Then we'll talk about Minnesota. But first.
Yes. Let's talk about Sleeper. Sleeper is the best fantasy league out there, period. Best fantasy platform out there, period. Put your ball knowledge to the test, or puck knowledge, as we're learning is a soon-to-be conversation starter. By picking whether your favorite or least favorite or any player will get more or less than their projected stats each week. Tonight, we have another Monday Night Football doubleheader.
So much football.
And we got Lions, Seahawks, and Titans, Dolphins. So for Lions, Seahawks, I'm on David Montgomery for an anytime touchdown. And Titans, Dolphins, Will Levi. Oh, did I do that right?
You talking about the quarterback?
Levi?
Yeah.
You like that? Is the lock of the week to throw an interception. So he's probably not super stoked about that one, but those are my picks. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. If you think you have what it takes, download the Sleeper app, use the code DLLS Stars to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today.
Let's face it. After a night with drinks, I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. I have to make a choice. I either can have a great night or a great next day. That is until I found Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol. Pre-Alcohol is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Vacations, weddings, birthdays, and reunions. There's so much going on. Get the most out of your summer plans by stocking up on pre-alcohol now. And you can go to zbiotics.com/DLLS Stars to get 15% off your first order when you use DLLS Stars at checkout. Pre-alcohol is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/DLLS Stars and use the code DLLS Stars at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Z-Biotics, for sponsoring this episode and our good times. All right.
I think John could have used some Z-Biotics this weekend.
He was struggling. He still is. I think his sleep deficit has not been caught up. Ben in Big D writes, Owen skipped hockey for soccer. Sad, disappointing, signed his boss. Oh, that
his
Ben.
boss right there.
Thanks, Ben. Who is for the first time in about a week not wearing a Chelsea jersey.
Yeah.
So Just going to say.
Take note that there are multiple people booing Owen right
And
now.
I didn't skip it. I watched it. I just had to appropriate it a little bit. So let me ask you guys a question here about what I saw on the power play on Friday night against the Avs. Again, mixed lineups. Don't read a lot into it, but I did notice Cole Lind on the top unit with Ben Johnston, Hintz, and Heiskanen, and then Matej Blumel was on the second unit with Duchesne, Seguin, Dodonov, and Harley. The fact that they were getting looks with those two players who we know are offensive players, and that's part of what they bring to the table as a potential forward spot on this group. What does that say to you guys? Luds?
Says they're trying to find a replacement for Joe Pavelski. Ding. There we go. No, I think what they're doing is they're finding places for players, what they do well, where they do it well. And when we need to plug a hole, we're going to plug a hole. And if you've got to load up one power play, they've got different options. They want to spread it out, obviously. So you're looking for combinations. And that's what the preseason is all about, to find out we're going to get injuries at some point. We're going to have guys miss games, and there's going to be penalties and everything else. Who can we plunk into this spot to either hang in there for a game, for a week, or for one period, or even one power play? So I think everybody's getting an opportunity to see what they can do, when they can do it, and how effective they can be.
Yeah, it's not too telling, right? Because there's some guys that we're not playing. Marchman's one that is going to be
Jason
on that
Robertson,
unit.
of course.
Robertson's obviously out. So it's not like those are just replacements, but it is a confidence booster for those guys that's who they picked, right? They got to pick somebody. It's not like they're just picking anyone to throw them on the power play. And it's a pretty NHL heavy roster that night. So I thought Cole Lind looked great again. I keep saying it every game, but he just doesn't look like he's afraid to make plays. He looks like he goes 100% into the tough areas. We talked to him a little bit after the game. He added an empty netter, so he got his first goal of the preseason as well on Friday. But we talked to him after, and I asked him, does he ever have to tell himself not to do too much, right? Because we've talked to a few guys, Matej Blumel specifically, mentioning sometimes doing too much when you're trying to make the team. And he just said, you have to remind yourself of it every day. Remind yourself that this is just hockey and go out there and do your thing. And that's exactly what he's done. Like straight up just played well, played to his game, been aggressive, calling for the puck whenever he's getting to open areas. And he's been very impressive. But I will say Blumel also impressed me this weekend. He stepped up. He had 4 shots in each game. He played the second most among forwards on Friday, most among forwards yesterday. Got the assist on the Stankoven goal, which we'll talk about. But I think he definitely helped his cause this weekend as well.
I don't think that, and we've talked about this a couple of times now, that Pete DeBoer is necessarily looking for a power play guy to fill that spot. But if they can demonstrate they can do the role of which they're asked, and they have that in case somebody's in the box, somebody gets hurt, that's not a bad thing to have as a sort of an extra quality for that fourth line or 13th forward that they're looking for.
Sometimes you can send a message to somebody that's not doing their job. So let's say, for instance, you get a Tyler Seguin out there, and for whatever reason, things aren't going well for him, or he's not playing up to his potential. You can always yell down to a player, and next thing you know, he's in your spot on the power play, because that's where those guys kind of want to be, is on the power play, where you can collect some more points. And you just make an example. We do have somebody else that can replace you in case you don't live up to what you're supposed to be doing. So, but I think it's more about the young guys getting an opportunity and giving them an opportunity to show what they can do, and give them some confidence that, hey, we trust that you can do this, and we believe in it. And like Sam said, do the little things that you're supposed to do, and don't try to do too much. Here's the role. Here's the job that you're supposed to do when you're in that spot. Just do that.
Yeah, it's kind of twofold, right? We just mentioned, Bloods just said, if those guys are on the roster, let's say a Cole Lind is the 12th or 13th forward, it gives you that option. It's not a reason to give him a roster spot, but if you have, we just, like he just said, Tyler Seguin struggling, power play hasn't scored in 4 games, now you can put that guy in there versus, if it's an Oscar Beck or someone that's not going to play on the power play, or whoever it might be, it just gives you a little more freedom. But on the flip side, these guys that aren't on the Dallas team are going to be playing that Cedar Park power play. So it's a great experience for them on that level as well.
So the Stars,
when you come out of games and you're winning a lot of hockey games, you want to feel like you had a part of it, and I think sometimes there's guys that, they may only play 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes or whatever, but they don't really come out of a win feeling good about it. Everybody's having a good time there, and you're like, I didn't get to do much. And so I think by giving these guys an opportunity, sometimes you can be up by 2-3 goals with 10 minutes to go in the third period, and you can leave one of those guys off because we got 82 games to play, and give somebody else an opportunity of that, and then they feel good about their game. And it's just a confidence thing for these guys, knowing that the coaching staff has confidence and their teammates have confidence that they can go out there and do that.
And I'm a big fan of a coach splitting up the special teams duties so it's not the big guys doing both.
Yep.
Because I think the more you balance that throughout your lineup, the more the guys, you save energy for your top end guys offensively, but also, as you said, Lutz, you give guys a task.
You have a
role to play that isn't just, well, I played 5 minutes, I don't feel like I had much of an impact. If they can really sink their teeth into that, I think it is better for the team. Now, those guys have to be good at what they do, because if they can't kill a penalty, guess what? You're going to have to lean on your other guys.
Yeah, and this team is plenty deep to do that.
Yeah.
Like, you can only do that if you have the players to do it. They have them.
So they beat the Avalanche. It was a close game. It was back and forth, tied a couple of times. There were 3 1-goal leads for the Stars. Then Colin had the empty netter. Matt Duchene and Tyler Seguin both ended up with 3 points. They were really, really good together. I saw jamiebenn skating with them a little bit and just sort of put a question mark down. If somebody gets into a penalty situation, or it's one of those nights where the coaching staff has to shuffle their lines just for something different, is that an option? Ben with Duchene and Seguin, as opposed, obviously Marchment's my first choice.
Yeah.
There's different ways to get your team going too, and sometimes you got to juggle things up and put guys with different guys and sometimes it's just one line. One line's not clicking tonight, but you give them these opportunities in different roles, different situations during the game or in preseason or other games where you go, you know what? We need a spark. Let's bring this kid up and let's put him on top line. Let's put him with these 2 guys. And then it's not like anybody's getting demoted, because, again, I think what this staff likes to do is come out of the game, they go down the sheet, they look at the stats and all those kind of things. But I think one of the stats they look at closest to is minutes played. And it's that the fourth line guys are close to the second line guys. The top guys aren't getting wore out in game 20, game 30, and they try to keep a balance there. So, again, we go back to everybody's got a little part in this hockey game, but you can still find a way to give you guys the most amount of rest as you can when you get into these where 3 and 4 nights, and sometimes there's 4 and 6 and this kind of stuff. Let's spread our minutes out, and it's going to pay off in the long run for them.
You know what I thought was interesting about that shift too is that I asked Laine after, because you think maybe it's just preseason, they just wanted to see some different guys. He actually said it was because of the lull in the second period, and they wanted to switch some things up. They put Ben and Dodonov swap on the top 2 lines, and then they switched Hughes and Ritzkovian as well on the bottom pairings, just to switch some guys up, and it worked out immediately. I mean, Ben made an incredible saucer pass to Seguin, who knocked it out of midair and made a pass to Duchene. And Seguin said that he got a little tickled, a little energy from that, thinking of the old days. Mm-hmm. So I will say this: we know that has worked, but we also know that Ben and Seguin together in the modern era has not worked. Maybe Duchene's the perfect one to make that work, but it's always fun to see those guys back out together.
So we had we spent most of the first 2 segments talking about the Avalanche game, and it's for a reason, because the other game was on Sunday in Minnesota. The Stars won that one 4-2. They are 5-0 in the preseason. However, a quick rant from me. I'm not a fan of trying to watch the game for our purposes of breaking it down and having our opinions on the ALTcast. And this is not a shot at the Victory Plus offerings. I thought what Brian and Sevi did was very interesting. And actually, it was because their conversations with their guests, Vern Fiddler, Al Montoya, and Marty Turco, were so good, it made me want to pay attention even more to what they're talking about. And that distracted me from the game itself. And, of course, not having somebody doing play-by-play in color and sort of calling out names and numbers if you can't see the screen's a little bit smaller. All those things turn into, it's not ideal for me to watch compared to watching. Those 2 games stacked up. I watched the Friday game on Victory Plus, and I watched that one on Victory Plus. And they're completely different viewing experiences. Yeah. I really liked hearing what Fiddler, Montoya, Turco, all that. It was great stuff. But it pulled my attention away from the game.
Yeah, I agree.
You agree?
Well, you 100%, because I actually was texting Sevi and saying, like, hey, I'm sure you guys are planning this, but if you're not, ask Fids about mocking Kevin Bieksa. Because I wanted to hear his story about that. And then Sevi texted me, it's coming up right after the break, and then they talked about it. So, yeah, you're right. It does take away. And I know this is all we can do, right? That's the only way we get that game on Victory Plus.
And a proviso there, it's great that we have that access, because in previous years, it was just, well, you're not going to see that game. So we'll give you the box score. we'll move on. So
Yeah.
we got to see more than we did. But again, I would rather watch that with regular commentary and rather watch what they did with the Allcast just as like a regular broadcast podcast because it's fascinating stuff.
Yeah, do a worse job, Brian and Sevi. That's what we're trying to say. Don't
Well,
do
no.
as well
Yeah,
because
no,
we're
they did
more
really well.
interested
And I
in
love
listening to you.
that Turco had to chirp Brian for not having his facts on the NCAA championships that he won because Brian said something to the effect, "Oh, you were gone. My brother was at BC," and he goes, "BC, huh? Yeah, I was at the game. Yeah, that was a national title I won."
Yeah.
That was really funny. I enjoyed that part, amongst other things.
Yeah.
Did you guys have any feelings about the game?
It'd be nice if you have an option. You know what I mean? Like when you have an option, like the Mannings,
Yeah.
what is that? ESPN, whatever that
Yep.
thing is. I don't like the Manning. Not that I don't like the Mannings. I'd rather listen to the broadcasters because I'm used to listening to broadcasters. In my situation, I love listening to Razor. I mean, he's entertaining and he's one of the best in the business, if not the best. But like you said, I think it's cool to have guys on there that have been there, done that, and they can give you a different a view on something. A lot of times, you know, we always hear the bad things that people say about players, and sometimes you have a different spin, and you're able to say, well, let me tell you why that happened. You know, because this is why that happened. This is why that guy went there. But there are the times you go, yeah, he shouldn't have been there. You know, and it's okay to say that because we all make mistakes. But I just think having those guys that have been in, you know, all these, especially when you got a goaltender. You know, I mean, if you got Al or you got Marty out there talking, and to say, because I had an issue with goalies with our younger teams until one goalie coach told me one day, and he goes, "Les, it's all about perspective." And he goes, if you're not literally standing right behind the goaltender and maybe sit where they used to run the little light there when goals go in and be able to see exactly what's happening there, you can't sit there and complain when you're standing on the bench and go, he should have had that, because you don't know what he saw or what he didn't see. And so I've kind of way let back now and go, listen, I'm talk to the goalie coach about it because a puck that I think he should have stopped. But so when you have a former goaltender that can say, yeah, he should have been out at an angle here, or he lost this here. I think that would be the most entertaining, side of things for me when it comes to hockey, is to have a former goaltender be able to explain why this or that may or may not have happened.
Sam, we're a little over time, but just to put a bow on this game, any observations from the Minnesota game that really stood out to you?
Yeah, two of them. Logan Stankoven can score. I think we learned, or it already knew, but I actually wrote, and I stand to this, he could score 40 goals this year. I mean, we already know he could win the Rookie of the Year. He could be all these things. He could score 40 goals. And if he keeps getting 9 shots a game, I really don't see how he's not going to do that. So Stankoven's just impressed me all preseason. He's just has never stopped. Practice, games, everything. His motor just keeps going, and I think that's going to be huge for this team. And once again, bring energy to Jamie Benn, I believe.
I don't think he ever gets down on himself. Like if he ever goes into a spin where he hasn't scored or got a point in 3 games or 6 games or 10 games, he doesn't change his game. He gives you the same effort every time, because I'm sure that over his young career, he knows that if he continues to do that, it's going to go back to the way it's supposed to. The only way to get out of it is just continue to work. And he like you said, I said this before, he's got a motor on him, and his feet are moving all the time. He goes to the front of the net all the time. And all you want out of your players is when you get out there on a shift, just work hard and then come off. And he does that every single time. And it's nice to see guys like that get rewarded. And then it is entertaining when I see him go into the pile and every scores a goal. And they're all, everybody, I don't care who you are, they're all up here and he's down here. You know, and now you go, man, is he a little guy? But he doesn't play like a little guy. You know, he plays like a big guy.
Yeah, and he's casual. He's got a great head on his shoulders, like you said. When he talked to him, hey, how'd you like the game? Oh, good. You know, great 9 shots. I wish we could have buried one. That's kind of how he just plays it off. Like, it would have been nice if we scored, but we played well. Yeah. And that's very important.
All the more reason why last year when he went on that long goal drought, and Pete DeBoer said, I hardly noticed because he does so many good things, which is a really good sign. Yeah. We will talk more about the team, especially the roster announcements, the cuts to the training camp roster that came down half hour before our show. But first,
I could have put a test to this last week in Wisconsin, but I didn't get my Rugged Road cooler yet. So Rugged Road, where are you? I need you. Rugged Road is dedicated to creating innovative and durable outdoor gear for adventurers who demand the best. Our products are designed with the highest quality materials and craftsmanship, ensuring they perform in the toughest conditions. Whether you're on land or water, Rugged Road gear is built to accompany you on every adventure. One of the most unique features of rugged road coolers is their ability to always float upright, and you never lose a drink, is what I hear. I don't know.
You haven't lost one either, Luds.
We could have tested that. Like I said, I'll give you guys my address. I'd love to seriously be the guys that are testing this whole thing out for you. Unlike other heavy-duty coolers, rugged road coolers are incredibly light, making them easy to transport on any trip without compromising on performance. Perfect for a variety of outdoor activities, from fishing and tubing to camping and tailgating, weddings, bridesmaids parties, rides in back of cop cars. It all be tested out where. So gear up on your next adventure with Rugged Road coolers, reliable, durable, and built to be used. Rugged Road is your ultimate outdoor companion. Head to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use the code DLLS for 10% off.
I'm surprised on your read it says rides in the back of cop cars.
It says a lot of things on my read that I don't say, but or do say.
All right, let's talk about FOCO. FOCO is the best fit of sports gear.
I've never met a guy that has
around.
a read and he can laugh more right in the beginning of it. I'm waiting for something good to come out.
He's cracking himself up.
Sometimes I just laugh.
It's not even that funny.
I just think about Lutz. Hoodies, shoes, signs, bobbleheads, and everything in between. FOCO is your spot for the best sports gear. Go into a basketball or hockey game, show off your love with team-branded friendship bracelets. I don't know who wears those at basketball games, but I'm sure there are people. Maybe you can get some Taylor Swift gear, some friendship
you can wear
bracelets.
them to a game. You can't play a basketball game with a bracelet on.
Maybe you can. I've seen players wearing gold chains that get like pulled off too on their necks.
Yeah, you can't. The NBA is pretty strict about that.
Whether it's jackets, beachwear, or even overalls, there's something for fans for almost every occasion, and they've been doing it since 1998. Our beautiful Dallas Stars board shorts, bathing suit,
I'm
whatever
still
you
waiting
want to call
for the delivery of
there,
our complimentary Dallas Stars board shorts.
I think they're up
will
there.
Wear them with pride.
Yeah. Casual. I don't even know why I'm laughing at this point. Casual collection, retro collection, old hats, NHL ugly sweater pajamas. They have it all. Check out foco.com. That is foco.com, or click the link in the description below. For all non-presale items, make sure you use the promo code DLLS10 for 10% off.
You know, Sam, if this was a boxing round, the judges would have scored that 10-9 in favor of Luds.
In favor of FOCO.
Yeah. Sorry. All right. Big news today was roster cuts. The training camp roster was reduced by 19 as the Stars sent a bunch of players to the AHL in a couple different facets. The players that are signed to NHL contracts were loaned to the Texas Stars. There were a couple of ATOs that were released that may end up on the AHL training camp roster, and a couple of PTOs, including our good old buddy Curtis McKenzie, who I've known since his rookie year, 13-14. That was 11 years ago, guys. They won the Calder Cup his rookie season. He was the AHL Rookie of the Year way back when. He's the Texas Stars captain. Great dude. But some of the names that you probably were familiar with, especially, was Justin Hurskovian, who we got to see really Hurskovian for the first time in NHL preseason. Kyle McDonald, I thought, did fine for himself again, but the numbers are just to that point where it's really hard, including Ben Cross, who I thought came in the third period against Colorado on Friday. He never played an NHL preseason game before. He played for a couple of colleges, finished at St. Lawrence, 6'5". He looked quick, and he made a couple of good saves. Nice glove save early on in the third period of a game that was, for him, fortunately ahead because of a goal 38 seconds into the third. But, hey, he helped beat a pretty light NHL roster Colorado team at home.
Yeah, he was good. And I looked at some of his numbers before because one of my friends is a St. Lawrence alumni, so he always talks about St. Lawrence. So I knew of his name a little bit last season. He had some great numbers in college. I think he had like a .919 save percentage last season with St. Lawrence, which was a big part of getting them as far as they are in the ECAC. And he looked great. I think I was surprised that Jake didn't play that full game. I think we thought he was going to get a full game at some point. Maybe it's Thursday. But I think Cross was great, and that's how good is that for confidence for him too, right?
I mean, it's not just for him; it's for his family. His parents get to see that. His siblings, friends, anybody who helped him along the way, he can now say, "I've played in an NHL preseason game." And Luds, we're going to talk about a little bit more about this in our NHL news and notes segments, but those games are really, really important for those players, not just the guys getting ready to be on the NHL roster.
Yeah, I was wondering if Sean to be listening right now, because my thought is it's all just semantics. It's already what happened. This is what it's about. I mean, they get their opportunity, but we know what's going to happen. I think they kind of do. Anybody that's coming in here, whether you're on a PTO, drafted, whatever, and you look at what this team has done in the last couple of years, and you look at what they have right here, you better be honest with yourself and say, I'm going to really have to do something special. Or unfortunately for somebody else, there's going to have to be an injury. But I pretty much know where I'm going and where I'm going to be, where I'm going to start. And if you understand that and you go there with the right mindset and you do what you're supposed to do, and I'm talking about going to the minor team or back junior, whatever it may be, that you just left here with a really good impression for the management staff and the coaches. That's all. That's really, for guys that want to come here and like just say, man, I'd love to come to your camp. Could I try out? I would be picking somewhere like Ottawa or Anaheim.
Because there's more opportunity.
Yeah, there's an opportunity. Because when you're a young kid and you're maybe not in that, that top echelon of players that have an opportunity, go someplace where you actually have a chance, where they're pissed off at their players and they need somebody else to come in and light a fire under somebody and say, listen, we're going to take this kid if you don't get your act together. So, but again, it's great for the organization where they're at with the kind of players that they drafted and how much talent and skill that they have here. The future is bright, as we said around here. But again, when you're in this program right now at this particular time and you see what's ahead of you, you have to come and leave with a positive attitude as much as you can.
Now, Claus, Sam, got a couple of games last year on an ATO with the Texas Stars and did well.
Yeah.
He got a preseason game. I think it's pretty obvious that Magnus Hellberg is the number 3. He'll be playing a lot of games in the AHL in Cedar Park. The expectation is Poirier, being a draft pick, would be the other goalie in the AHL. Where's Ben Cross going to play? Well, he's going to go to the AHL camp and at least test Poirier, but then he's either the starter in Idaho, or they might feel so high on him that they have to go find a place they can loan him to. But this is a really good problem. When you're talking you're 5 goalies deep, and you're confident in those guys as organizational tiers, I think the Stars are in good shape right now.
Yeah, it's funny because they went out and got Hellberg for this depth that we're talking about, right? They wanted not only a guy that they could call up and feel comfortable playing some games in the NHL. We talked about Matt Murray last year and how understandably they didn't necessarily want him to come in and play games when Jake was hurt. But they also got Ben Cross, who playing at this level probably could be a 2 in the AHL. So it's almost like they didn't necessarily need it, but they have it, and now they're going to use it. And you're right. I think he'll test it a little bit. I don't know that Poirier's looked really good too. So I think that it's his job to lose down there. But yeah, it's nice to have 5 guys that you're comfortable with within the organization, especially when you look at other teams that have maybe 1.
And management wants them to play well too. They want them to make and let everybody else see how well they're playing, because you never know when you talk about Hellberg, and we know why he's here. But there could be somebody else knocking on Jim's door and saying, listen, we got a goaltender who I don't know if he's going to be here. He's holding out, and Swayman might not be here for 3 months. I just thought I'd kind of segue that.
We're going to bring to that in a minute, yeah.
And then all of a sudden Jim goes, well, give me a second round pick for him. You can have him.
Yeah.
And they'll play. No way. But for those kind of reasons too. So bring in good players, and if somebody else wants to give you a ring, and you may just make something out of nothing.
It's good to have that depth, and it's funny, like what you just said, Lutz. We might be looking at Anaheim as a team that Cole Lind, Arttu Huru, and Matej Blumel could be one of their lines if they're on their team.
Yeah, easily.
And then now we're looking at maybe all 3 of them not being on this roster. So it's a great problem to have for the Stars, but it is frustrating at times for these young guys. So you just hope it works out for both.
With the 19 roster cuts, they're down to 31 on their roster. You have to get to the maximum of 23, which will not be this week, but next Monday at 5 Eastern time, 4 Central is when the deadline to submit your season opening rosters. And those change because you do that, and then teams that have players that are hurt can go on LTIR, and you can adjust things accordingly. But as the 31 players that are left in the Stars training camp roster, it doesn't feel like at the moment there are any real surprises of who's gotten released and who's still here.
Well, the good news for them is they're living up to expectations, I think, most of them, because what we've seen, you got hell of a lot of good players here.
Yeah.
I mean, guys that, like we said, he mentioned a couple other teams. So we've talked about this so many times about what Jim Nill has done in his scouting staff and the players that they have found, and that's in the system now. That you look around, man, and you go, yeah, you know what? And there's going to be a couple guys here maybe moving on the next year or so, or they're getting a little bit older, but they're not concerned because, well, I mean, they're going to be concerned because, some players are going to move on, but they're not concerned because they feel that they've got somebody that can not necessarily step into their shoes now, but will be able to bring something. And then as they grow, they're going to become either the same as those players or better.
Yeah, what'll be interesting to watch now is there's no more games to really test this out besides this Thursday game, right? So the Cole, Lind, and Blumel, Huru, the battles for those spots, how are the coaches going to evaluate that now? How much do they already know and have a good idea? Is it Thursday is going to be your final dress rehearsal? Is it just kind of looking in the next few days? It's just funny to see now because they used to have the games. Here's your first chance. All of a sudden, now it's your last chance, and all of a sudden, they don't have any chances potentially left besides this last game. So,
have either one of you guys had an opportunity to talk to any of the coaches that asking them about their last preseason game? Are they going to try to have their starting lineup in that game? Or
yeah, it didn't say starting lineup, but they've all said NHL heavy, pretty close.
Yeah. They want to be as close as they can. Yeah. I would be shocked if it was a complete group, even though they have a week between that game and the start of the regular season in Nashville, because there's going to be a couple of guys like Jason Robertson isn't going to play against St. Louis. They still have hope that maybe he can be ready for Nashville. We'll see. Maybe somebody gets held out because you're nursing something. Who knows if Mason Marchment, they want him to play or not after
Maverick Bork.
Maverick Bork was held out. Well, you had a couple things from practice I thought you wanted to bring up real quick before we get to our NHL stuff.
Yeah. What was that, Saturday?
It was Saturday.
Saturday's practice was a very casual practice. Worked on some 5-on-5, but there were some people that took days off. But I noticed Maverick Bork up watching the practice again, and I just had noticed him not on the ice a lot since he played that second game, I think it was, in Colorado. And so I asked about that, and he said he's nursing something very minor, but there was no concern whatsoever. This was Nazardine again we talked to, and he said there's no concern. We're not worried about it at all. It's just like we said, precautionary. No reason to have him do this, which shows confidence in what they believe he can be. And then the other news was Jason Robertson practiced with the team for the first time. It took me a minute to notice him because I just wasn't expecting him on the ice this soon, but saw him out there doing drills. He almost did the entire practice, and then once they got into like really heavy stuff, he left. But great to see. And Nazardine again said what you guys just said, that they fully expect him to play in the first game. They said not sure about the preseason game if he wanted to play and he was fully ready, but I would imagine that he would not play just again precautionary reasons.
To me, there's no way he plays in that game against the Blues. But I wouldn't be surprised if they felt that Robo wasn't quite ready, or if Bork is dealing with something next week that even after getting possibly sent down, one of the guys that's in those final spots might get called back up to play for those guys if they have that extra, look, you want your roster to play all 82, but the reality is sometimes guys have to step up and they've got plenty of options that even if they pick one guy to win that spot, I'm guessing there's going to be confidence in many more.
Yeah. When you talk about Jason, though, if he's going to play game one, if I'm Jason Robertson and I haven't participated in it, I would want to play in that last game, just from a timing standpoint, because again, if you're sitting there and, we know that there's not, 20 NHL guys that are playing in every game, but to get your timing, and we know that he's been through this before, and he came out and had a hell of a season. So that's in his mind too. But I would think that you would want to get out there, get your timing with the guys that you're probably going to play with and the passing and everything, because it's not the same in practices. So, but I agree. If he's not 110% ready to go, then he shouldn't take that chance. But I mean, if he's saying, yeah, I'm definitely starting there, I probably would be the guy to say, well, you know what, get me in. Maybe I only play 10, 12 minutes, but just let me get my feet wet before we hit that number one game.
He also said, Nazardine I made that point. I asked him, does this help at all knowing that he had this? And he made a point that last time was because of a contract issue. Yeah. So he was skating,
which we talked about. He wasn't limited physically.
Yeah, he was skating and he was playing, and he wasn't playing with the team, but he was up to speed. So maybe this is even more important this year that he gets that pace.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are going to get to our NHL news and notes in just a moment, but first, we remind you can upgrade your fandom today by becoming a DLLS Dallas Stars diehard, or just a DLLS diehard in general. You can support all of the teams' coverage in Dallas from our network, whether it's the Stars, the Mavericks, the Rangers, the Cowboys. You can do all those things. You get a free shirt of your choice each year that you are a DLLS diehard subscriber. It comes with a code. You don't have to pick early. You can get anything you want. Plus, in addition, you get 20% off all other merchandise orders and events, including ticket takeovers or tailgating events, things that will be planned in the future. You get access to our premium diehard content on the website, where you can get to everything that Sam or Sean write, but everything that all of our great writers at our DLLS group write, not just Stars. And of course, you also get a diehard member card and access to our Discord lounge, which includes what we'll actually do on Friday for a change.
Yes.
Luddy's damn Discord channel, because it'll be the day after our preseason game finale where we do a pregame and postgame show. So with that being said, you can join now, alldlls.com/join-diehard. All right, NHL news and notes. We have a lot to get to. Let's start with this video because Luddy teased it a little while ago. Boston is dealing with something right now.
Since you say you were surprised, Cam, can you share any of the specifics here, be it what his ask is in terms of dollars or term?
Well, I don't want to get into the weeds with what his ask is, but I know that I have 64 million reasons why I'd be playing right now.
I don't want to get into the details.
Yeah. Don't want to drop too much, but also here's
so
this.
He didn't want to say the number that Swayman has and his agent have said they want, but he threw that out. My first thought, aside from, well, he just said
we offered you an 8x8 contract, right?
But aside from that, do you want your front office, Cam Neely's the president, you've got John Sweeney, the GM right there, negotiating in the media with the season a week away?
This is a Boston's Bruin organization that has been like this from the beginning of time. And it's very similar to some other organizations that believe that it's not about the money, it's about that logo. And you should be proud to play for this Boston Bruin. And I agree. I mean, it's one of the iconic organizations, but they are like, well, you know, they had a couple players that have played there in their day, and they didn't sit and fight for more money. They took what they wanted to take and what they were willing to give, and they didn't ask for more because it was about wearing the logo. And I think they've kind of carried that on through that organization. And I think right now what they're saying is, we know you want your $10 million. We know that you think it's for the younger goaltenders and you're trying to set a standard and all this. But I do think that until the Shesterkin deal gets probably done and sets some kind of a benchmark, and again, it may be similar to what we were sitting here waiting for Detroit to possibly sign before Harley and all this other kind of stuff. So I just think that they feel, and Cam is a lifelong Boston Bruin and one of the greatest that ever played there, that this is who we are, this is what we're going to pay you, and we just told you what we're offering you, and we're probably not going any higher than that. I think I even said to you guys a few weeks ago when we first started this whole thing, when he said he wanted his $10 million, I think he's going to get somewhere around the middle sevens is what I think. But obviously they're offering him more right now.
So another quote, Sean Hutchin, tweeted this out. I've asked, this is Neely speaking, I've asked him, talking about Swayman, flat out if he wants to play here, and he does. I believe they'll get a deal done. Unfortunately, it's not done today. Do you guys think that this gets done before the regular season begins?
No,
I
don't. I don't even see, looking at the Bruins cap space, they're projected to have about 7.85 free, which means they'd have to already do some work to get the 8x8. How are they going to go above that? How are they going to get to, I mean, if he's asking 9.5, 10, like it's rumored that he is, how the heck do they get there?
I don't think they're going to. I don't. And I think they just know that he's going to crack. Now, you're both kind of playing Russian roulette, because what happens if Boston starts out and they're 3-7 and their goaltending sucks? You know, it gives him the leverage. What happens if they start out 7-3? You know,
which they could easily do.
Yeah,
exactly. They've got a good hockey.
It's definitely
club.
the easiest place to play goalie for the most part in the league. So not that that's saying anything bad about the goalies, but it's a chance for, like, if it's a team that maybe gives up a ton of shots, you're going to see that. But you could have a guy that steps in there and is tiers below Swayman, which a lot of goalies are, and they still might win a lot of those games just because of how good their defense is.
Marchand, underpaid. Patrice Bergeron, underpaid. Ray Bourque was underpaid. They were all underpaid, but they all wanted to live there. And in Bourque's case, okay, Ray, you're getting this, and nobody's getting more than you. So that's just how it is. And when you got guys like Bergeron, and like I said, Marchand, Pasternak probably got, a little more than they probably wanted to, but I think he probably left some money on the table because they want to play with this great organization. And so they're expecting Swayman to do the same thing.
I think one interesting point, Elliot Friedman talked about it on one of their shows for 32 Thoughts when Crosby took his extension. And it's so easy to just look at that as the universal way of looking at all contracts. So you see Swayman holding out and you're like, oh, Crosby's doing it for Pittsburgh. Why isn't he doing it? Every case is very different. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I do want to say, no matter what is going on, Boston's in trouble in the net right now, and I don't see it getting fixed very soon.
And I will say this again. I do not hold any player, anything negative against them for trying to get the most money they can when they can. And they should never feel guilted into, well, you got to be a team guy, save some for the rest. Look, you can applaud what Sidney Crosby's done. He's also made a massive amount of money over his career. He's in a different circumstance, as Sam was saying. Everyone's different. These careers are so finite. They can get hurt tomorrow and never be able to play again. And they need to, and when they have leverage, use it as much as they can because that paycheck dries up as soon as they stop playing.
Did Cam Neely kind of shift people towards or against Swayman now as far as fans go?
Yeah.
Saying, listen, you hear what they're offering him, and he doesn't want to play here for that dollar amount, or his family, or anybody else like that. Saying, you really want to?
I think that's the hope, right?
Yeah,
from the Bruins side.
It's not dirty pool, but
I think that's the whole hidden agenda here. It's not so hidden. Is we said it in the press in front of everybody. Your move.
Yeah, they've now said the deadline in December out publicly. And they've talked about the numbers they've offered. So I think they're trying to put the pressure on. But as we talked about before the show,
they haven't budged yet.
Goalie's a tough position to bet on. You don't know that Jeremy Swayman is Jeremy Swayman 3 years from now. So
exactly.
Boston, each side has their own. Swayman's proven himself and maybe deserves more. Boston is reasonably so doubting it. It's just I just don't see it getting fixed. It's a tough situation.
All right. The other talking point that came out, it was actually Saturday, but the fine and supplementary discipline discussion came out yesterday and involves of course, Toronto Maple Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens. So let's go to the first picture. In their preseason game, inside the first 5 minutes, that's Patrick Laine on the video or on the still shot in the red Montreal jersey, and that's his left knee being hyperextended the wrong way as he was trying to gain the offensive blue line against Toronto defenseman Cedric Perret. He went knee on knee, left the game, and they still, even as of this broadcast, have not announced anything definitive on a timeline. And I'll tell you this, it's awful to see from a Laine perspective, not just because of an injury, but he also was in the player assistance program. So he's coming out of that, trying to get off on a good foot with Montreal, and this happens. And it's a tough way to start. So a few minutes later, Arbor Xhekaj went after Perret. Perret did not engage. He, in fact, tried to skate away, and Xhekaj grabbed him almost like a horse collar and started throwing. He did not get Perret a knee-on-knee penalty for that, which I think he should have. Xhekaj was given a 2-5, a 10, and a game at that moment, which I think was really smart by the referees.
And you notice his gloves are still on.
And that's, I very much do, because the league gave him a max fine allowable of $3,385. Now, again, that's part of the CBA. Do you think that was only a fine and not a suspension because he kept his gloves on?
No. If you go back, well, we don't have everybody watching. A lot of people are listening. But if you go back to that first picture, and we can only show you still shots, but when you go back to that first picture and you look at the body language and look at where his arms and everything are, it looks like he's trying to hit him shoulder on shoulder. I mean, yes, you can see the knee and all that other kind of stuff, but when you typically see a guy that's intentionally going to try to stick his knee out, the knee is way out there and the body's not even really around it, and it's more of a straight leg kind of thing. I don't think the guy was trying to hit him knee on knee, but again, it's a fast game. You don't know what's going on. But I think that when the NHL looks at it and they look at everything, they're going, there was not a direct intent to go ahead and go knee on knee here, and I think that's why it ended up being what it is.
You think it should have been a penalty, though?
Yeah, I think it could have been a penalty for sure. I mean, again, you're supposed to be in control of your body, but without seeing back and forth, which the NHL has that capability of doing, it's hard for any of us to sit here and say that there was intent there. And he's not that kind of player. He's pretty much a career minor league guy, and I don't think he was trying to make any kind of statement on a premier player. So I think that's why it ended up and resulted in what it did. And I think Jack Guy comes out because he has to do that. I mean, again, somebody's going to do it, and he's the right guy to do it.
And if he didn't, he probably gets yelled at for not standing up for his teammates by his teammates, leadership, coaching staff, front office, you name it.
But wasn't that the next shift?
I believe it was.
It was the next. So I'm always curious why somebody at the moment didn't do that. Why?
Maybe the wrong guys on the ice.
Well, but it can be anybody.
Yeah.
But again, this guy's not a big fighter. So it could have been anybody.
Yeah,
You know what
I
I'm
mean,
saying?
it was a power play, so it was a bunch of Montreal power play guys on the ice. But you're telling me that Josh Anderson couldn't have stepped up and grabbed him.
Anybody
He's a
could,
big guy. I know that those guys don't necessarily want to be doing those things, but
see, more what it tells me is if a teammate didn't do it at that particular moment, they didn't think it was intentional either.
Yeah.
Because you can tell when a guy is intentionally going to do. We've seen a couple guys that were really good at slew footing, right? And they got jumped immediately by whoever it was. And when you don't get jumped right away, or you're watching a game and nobody gets, I just feel that they don't think it was an intentional move either.
So, Luds, we talked about this a little before the show. You said it's not intentional. Explain a little bit the natural reaction part of this as a defenseman, or just in general, what your reaction is and why this might occur more often.
Anytime, and again, high-profile player. Just got moved there. A lot of optimism about what he can bring to the club this year, and I think what you're really doing with a new player to your team is you're trying to make a statement. We're standing up for you. You're part of our group now. You're part of our family. So that's first and foremost. But anytime there's something like that, you have to step in, and even if it's not like something that you can tell is intentional, you're just trying to make a statement that we're all together. And again, like I said, I don't think it was an intentional thing, and I think that players probably didn't think, but there's still, you have to stand up for them. Even if you didn't mean it, you're still got to kind of pay the price, sort of, kind of.
On the flip side, it seems like this play happens in the league so often, and it looks bad. You look at the picture we were just looking at, it looks awful when you see it happen, but it's also, you got to think of how fast the game is, the natural reactions to things.
Yep.
It's like, hey, if I threw this plate at you, you'd probably drop your phone to try to catch that plate from hitting you in the face. I know it's an extreme example, but just the fact
I'm just wondering where this plate is.
Yeah, just the idea though of like that player is beating you to the outside. My natural reaction is to probably try to get bigger to stop him from beating me that side. It's just
you're trying to hold up at the blue line and not let them get through, because if you get walked, the coaches are going to go, I don't know if we are really confident in calling you up later, because can you do what we're asking you to do?
But also Patrick Laine is a bit of a dipsy-do kind of player. And he's been hit before, and he doesn't really seem to worry too much about, keeping his body where it should be. And I can see where Laine would be walking across the blue line and try to pull it over and kind of slide off. And then as a defending player, when you go to hit him, all of a sudden the body isn't where you saw it at that particular moment. And you reach out at the last second to try to hit him, and your knee, you lead with your legs. You kind of plant and you reach with it. So and he's been hit before like that, because he plays the game where he doesn't think he's going to get hit.
He's also a very big guy too.
Yeah, he's 6'5", 6'4".
I think so.
But he's like a little stick, I think, too. I don't think he's really put together well. He's had a few injuries in his career. So, and he's had other injuries when he's got hit and his head wasn't up. So it just kind of tells you that they like to play that European kind of style, and then he paid the price for it. Now, I'm not saying it was a good hit or bad hit, because I didn't really see it live.
Well, that's, I think, enough. We have a couple other topics we probably have to save for tomorrow. The Sabres played the German Red Bull team in an exhibition.
Super chat.
Oh, how about that? We have a super chat from Ardell. $4.55. That's a Miro Harley question. Will 91, 95, 27 line be as impactful as last year? That's the Seguin, Duchesne, and Marchment, although he got the wing pairs backwards. Details. Will they be as impactful as last year? I think yes.
Yeah.
The reason why is they have a lot of chemistry. They have a year built on it now, so now this is year 2 of them. And they are not asked to be the number 1 line every night. So because, and we've talked about this multiple times, because this group goes in waves, right? It can be the Robertson, Hintz, and what we think will be Johnston line. They can be the number 1 line, draw all the attention. And then all of a sudden, Duchesne, Seguin, and Marchment get a better matchup. And then they're going for a bit. And now it's Stankoven and jamiebenn and Maverick Bourque maybe. Or maybe it's Sam Steele and Dadonov, who has shown throughout preseason that he can play up the lineup as we've seen in the past. And that's kind of like what we were talking about with Cole Lind. Boy, Dadonov is a guy that's done it for years. Maybe Lind can work his way into that, or Oscar Beck. They are really, really deep, and that allows for one line maybe to be going well, one line maybe not going so well.
Yeah,
and it's okay.
If you look at Matt Duchesne had 65 points in 80 games last year. His quote the other day was, "Last year was good. I want this year to be great." The fact that he is striving for more, and he was already a 65-point in 80-game guy, I am really excited to see what he personally does, and I think he's just going to drive that line to even better than last year.
You can tell how he felt about this team by coming back for one more year. He's doing the Joe Pavelski, right? And, come back again, come back again, come back again. I'll keep coming. I want to be on a winner. I want to win a Stanley Cup, and I think this is the best opportunity. And you guys are right. Like, it all depends on how the other 2 lines are playing. If the Hintz line is playing lights out, they're not going to get the premier matchup. So they're going to get a little more time and room and space.
It will be interesting to see what we see on Thursday for the St. Louis Blues Stars final preseason game. And then a week, right? There will be some time. We're going to have Josh Bogorod, the Stars play-by-play announcer, on Wednesday in studio right here, the 3 of us plus Josh. Sean will be here tomorrow. Thursday, we've got our pre- and post-game show, so we won't have a regular week during the day show. And then Friday, we'll be talking about getting ready for the regular season. I mean, this week is going to fly by, and we're going to be ready for next week when the games happen.
Don't forget Friday.
I have
Big
a really
Hearts.
Big Hearts
you
Friday.
won't be there for
Lots
Friday.
won't be there
I got
because
the
we'll be
Big Hearts.
See, you
playing some hockey.
This is already your Tuesday.
I know
It's
that.
big time.
How about that?
I have a big announcement. I know we're over, but I have a big announcement to make as well. Today I was driving to the studio, and I was rubbing my tongue on my teeth, and I went, "These don't feel very clean."
Oh, no.
I realized that I didn't brush my teeth before I left. So instead of being disgusting and not brushing my teeth, I went to CVS, I bought a toothbrush, I bought toothpaste, and I brushed my teeth in the bathroom at the studio right before you came in.
The next person that shares your microphone appreciates your extra
It's
efforts.
clean, fresh, feel good. I used a very childish pink toothbrush.
Tip.
I'm going to be late for practice because of that story.
Pro tip.
And you're better off
Carry
for it.
some like Trident or other minty gum.
Oh, I have gum.
Oh, my God, you
That'll
too.
at least, in a
But
pinch.
I would have been sitting here like this, though. rubbing my teeth.
I apologize to the listeners
Over
for
my
this.
teeth. Let's get on the ice. Oh,
Don't forget to follow our show on Twitter at DLLS_stars. Follow Luddy, Taz,
If you can.
3311. He doesn't even know how to follow it. For Sam, follow me. For our producer, John Anderson, thanks so much for joining us today. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow, 2 o'clock, same time. I think we're in the lounge tomorrow, too. So,
Brush your teeth,
oh,
kids.
no, we're in the podcast room tomorrow. Sean will be here tomorrow. So the 4 of us will be getting you ready for, well, Thursday. And then let's get going. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one. So long, everybody.
We all silly like the mayor.